Hello, Mishpacha, it's Courtney, America's Jewish mother, and instead of sharing a Friday Reads video today, I thought I would share my TBR and TBR options for the month of November. So some of these books I'm going to prioritize to read in November, and others of them, if I get to them, great. If I don't get to them, it's no big deal, and this is just for fun. So let's get into it. So first I will be continuing my buddy read of Anne Petrie's The Street with Lindsay of Lindsay's Book Life. Probably by the time you see this video, we will already have started it, but it's kind of lengthy. I don't know if you can tell that from here, but this copy that I have has 435 pages, so it's not a short book, but I imagine we will hopefully get through it by the end of November, so we'll see. So that's the first book. The second book I want to read in November is Louise Erdrich's The Last Report on the Miracles at Little No Horse. So recently finished Louise Erdrich's The Plague of Doves, and that didn't work for me, so I need Louise Erdrich to redeem herself with this book. And I feel like it's going to, because this is out of the Love Medicine series, and the other two books that I've read out of the Love Medicine series, Tracks and Love Medicine, I've really liked. I also remember having read this a very, very long time ago, I think not long after it first came out. So I was probably still in high school at that point, and I really liked it then. So, I mean, that's not to say I'm going to like it now, but I feel like it already has sort of two things working in its favor. So that's the second book I want to read in November. So Lindsay at Lindsay's Book Life last year came up with a concept that I love that she calls Not Yet Read November, which is where you put books on your November TBR that you meant to get to earlier in the year and you just never got around to it. So I'm going to be participating in Not Yet Read November in addition to Nonfiction November, which everyone knows about. So the two books that I want to prioritize for, Not Yet Read November are Anton Chekhov's The Lady with the Little Dog and Other Stories, 1896 to 1904. So I actually meant to read this for the summer school readathon and then ended up replacing it with something else. So I want to read this year. And I don't really think I need to give an explanation of Chekhov's stories. I think everyone knows who Chekhov is. So that's the first one that I want to get to for Not Yet Read November. And the second one actually fulfills both Not Yet Read November and Nonfiction November, because it's one I had on my TBR last month and didn't get to, which is Stoney the Road by Henry Louis Gates Jr. Reconstruction, White Supremacy, and the Rise of Jim Crow. So again, I think this is probably going to be good supplemental reading to the other things that I've read recently, in the past few months, like White Rage and How to Be an Anti-Racist, etc., etc. So I think this will be a good addition to those reads about white supremacy. So yeah. So now getting into my picks for nonfiction November. I want to read Aaron Lansky's Outwitting History, How One Man Rescued a Million Books and Saved a Civilization. So this is about Yiddish. It says 25, well wait, I should tell you when this was published. This was published in 2004. So when this says 25 years ago, it means in the, let's see if I can do math, 80s. It means in the 80s or the early 80s. 25 years ago, it was believed that fewer than 70,000 Yiddish language books existed. So far, 1.5 million have been saved from extinction. Precious volumes that had survived Hitler and Stalin were being passed down from older generations of Jewish immigrants to their non-Yiddish speaking children, only to be thrown away or destroyed. So Aaron Lansky, at just 23, issued an appeal for unwanted Yiddish works. The response was astonishing. Lansky's passion led him to travel from house to house collecting the books and stories of these Jewish refugees and the vibrant intellectual world they inhabited. For years, he and a team of volunteers crisscrossed America, retrieving books from dusty attics, crumbling basements, and dumpsters. This is an inspirational story about a man who had a vision and made a difference, and it is a collective love song to brilliant Yiddish writers from Mendel to Shlomo Aleichem to Isaac Bashevis Singer and their lasting cultural relevance. So, eager to get to this one. Hopefully it will be better than the other book that I read about Yiddish. What the heck was that? It's back on my shelf now. Oh right, Michael Wex's Born to Kvetch. I disliked it so much I forgot the title. So hopefully this book about Yiddish will be better to me than that one was. Also in not yet read November, I meant nonfiction November. I want to get to Ezra Klein's Why We're Polarized, which I hauled not too long ago. And basically, as the title suggests, Klein traces United States politics from about the 60s and basically sort of explains why we're now so divided in the year 2020. Because I think this was published in January of this year. So I'm eager to read this, especially with the election looming. Okay, and now I also forgot to say these are the last two books that I'm going to prioritize, and I don't have physical copies of these, but they are book club picks. So also in November, I'm going to prioritize reading Paradise by Toni Morrison for Robert at Barterhoard's Backlist Book Club. So that is the November pick. And I'm excited to reread that. It's been a number of years since I read it, and I remember it being complicated and not my favorite of her works, but I'm excited to give it another go. And then the other book club book that I'm going to read for November is The Shadow King by Maza Mengiste. And this is a finalist for the Booker Prize. And yeah, I'm excited to read it. I've heard sort of mixed reviews of it, but that's the book club pick for Lindsay at Lindsay's Book Life's virtual book club. So I will be getting both of those from the library to read them. So those are the books I'm prioritizing, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, which is 8 books. So I feel like that is a solid, manageable number of things that I can reasonably read in the month of November. So now on to a few other books that I have set aside for Nonfiction November that if I get to them, great. If I don't get to them, it's okay. This is just for fun. So the first one is William Deresowitz's Excellent Sheep, The Miseducation of the American Elite and the Way to a Meaningful Life. I also hauled this in the same haul where I hauled the Ezra Klein Why We're Polarized book, and this is Deresowitz's experience on the admissions board at, I want to say Yale. Yep, Yale. And basically he talks about how people who go to Ivy League schools are stifled in their creative and imaginative thinking. And so I'm curious to read what he has to say. I think when I hauled this, I said that I used to read William Deresowitz's columns in the American Scholar magazine, and I always found him to be very sharp and insightful, so I'm looking forward to returning to his writing in this book. Also, possibly on the TBR for Nonfiction November is Fred Brooks Jr.'s The Mythical Man Month. This is a classic in computer science, and this copy was actually gifted to me by Fred Brooks himself when I worked in the UNC Department of Computer Science in 2008 and 2009. So I was very appreciative of that, and like I said, this is a classic of computer science. I think people still read this, even though it's quite old at this point, but this discusses Brooks's work in the early days of IBM on the IBM 360 project, which was very important to the field of computer science. And Brooks himself is also a recipient of the Turing Award, which is considered to be like the Nobel Prize of computing, so that's cool. So hopefully I will get to this one in November as well. And then the last book that's possibly on deck for Nonfiction November is Matthew Festenstein's Pragmatism and Political Theory, From Dewey to Rorty. And I'm going to be honest, this one looks dry and boring, but it is blurbed on the back by Richard J. Bernstein, whose work I have read and really like, so I'm here for it. I will give it a go. So it looks like Festenstein talks in the first part of this book about John Dewey's thought, and then in the second part of the book, he talks about how Dewey shaped the work of Richard Rorty, Jürgen Habermas, and Hilary Putnam. And he covers such topics as human nature and politics, reason and desire, relativism, community, dialogic democracy, and the grounding of liberalism. This first full-length critical study of the relationship between the pragmatist tradition and political philosophy fills a significant gap in contemporary theory. We'll see about that. So that's my last possibility for Nonfiction November. So this is the giant TBR pile, and it's heavy too. So these are the These are the prioritized books and the list of possibilities for Nonfiction November and Not Yet Read November, minus the 2 books I have to get for book club from the library. So that's those, and yeah, thank you for watching this. Let me know if you have thoughts about any of these books, especially if you think I should prioritize some of them over others. I hope y'all are doing well. I hope you're staying healthy and enjoying whatever you're reading, and until next time, would it kill you to call your mother?